Welcome to C45 TV. My name is Abel Mukwa. This is another conversation, of course, we're having at C45 TV. If this is the first time you're watching our videos, kindly make sure that you subscribe, like, and comment. And for those who are returning for another time, I want to thank you so much for being our supporters all through. Kindly, for the videos that we have uploaded, make sure you keep watching and also watch the new ones that we are going to upload. Now, back to the video today that we're having. It's all about what Jimmy Wanjigi knows. Now, in short, Jimmy Wanjigi has been a big name that has been talked politically in this country. He has said that he assisted in 2013 President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the current president, to get into power. And it's true, everyone believes that because he was behind the agreement between the two. Indeed, they got to power, they managed the affairs in the country for 5 years, and these people parted ways in between, and Jimmy Wanjigi shifted and joined Raila in 2017, of which they believe they also won under the assistance of Jimmy Wanjigi. Now, they parted ways because of disagreements, and one of the things that Jimmy Wanjigi said, it is the exaggeration of the cost of the government project, especially the SGR from Mombasa to Nairobi. So at this time, Jimmy Wanjigi he was a big man in Kenya. And as he moved, he's still big, but until 2022, when he tried to vie for presidency, when he parted ways with both Raila and Uhuru. So he didn't like the handshake, and he didn't like President William Ruto. To some point, he showed that he likes him and they were in support, but later on, Jimmy Wanjigi decided to go it alone. Now, he did not vie for presidency, but Jimmy Wanjigi has remained very relevant of late in the political arena. Why? He has been invited to several media stations, and when there he talks about the issues to do with economy. I've listened to almost all of his interviews that he has attended, and Jimmy Wanjigi is knowledgeable. Let me say, he appears to be very, very knowledgeable about the economy, the state of the economy in Kenya. Now, what did I borrow from his interviews? First of all, I learned that yes, he is very informed about what the current affairs and how to manage the country. Maybe because of his experience in politics that has made him to understand how the government runs. Today, when I listened to his interview, the last one that he was in KTN, and which was I think yesterday, I realized one thing from Jimmy Wanjigi, that he's convinced the government is taxing the right thing, but not at the same time. But there's something he brought clear to me. First, he said that despite President Ruto and Gachagua inherited this government, this is their problem because now they have the government. But what I learned from that interview is that the problem was majorly created by former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Which problem is this? It is the too much borrowing that he did at that time for projects that are not helping in the payment of the debt. He said the problem that we have in Kenya right now is because of the debt, huge debt that we owe foreign countries and some banking institutions in Kenya. And when I hear this, I go back to Raila Amolo's before 2022, before 2017 actually, before 2017, where he was talking about too much borrowing by the government. And later on, when he had the handshake, he changed tune and said, now you can borrow, but at least you know what you're doing. The expectation we had is that the moment Raila gets the handshake, after the Raila had gotten the handshake with President Uhuru Kenyatta, he was supposed to at least ensure that the money that has been borrowed has been used for the right projects so that it does not burden the common mwananchi. But what happened? That's the period we never heard of corruption cases. That's the period where we never heard of any company being set up in Kenya, and the companies being exempted from paying tax at that time. Therefore, in a nutshell, Uhuru failed Kenyans by borrowing excess and not ensuring that there's accountability and a proper usage of these funds. But Raila failed these people more because he gave us hope that he could not maintain by ensuring the funds have been used well to these people. Now you are paying this huge debt that Raila has not mentioned in his entire Mandamano and opposition period, especially since 2022. Because the problem were put in by his handshake brother, President Uhuru Kenyatta. President Kenyatta is a good president, character-wise, very calm. But when it comes to the embezzlement of Kenyan funds, he gave room for that to happen during his regime, and that was very wrong. Let's say this animal corruption was so hard to fight, but really it was so easy for them, for the corrupt ones. It was so easy for them. Despite it was so hard for the government to fight them, but it was so easy also for the corrupt people to succeed in Kenya. As I did it in one of the videos in my show, you can watch. One of the people who was involved in Kenya's huge scandal of NYS, Anne Waiguru, is now the governor of Kirinyaga for the second term. And in the first term, President Ruto supported her despite of her allegations or despite of accusations about corruption. Why do you suppose someone is corrupt in your government, in your party, and expect to fight corruption in Kenya? It cannot work. Therefore, today, in this video, I want to bring it out very clear that it is not that Raila is a bad person, but sometimes he's not genuine. Let me justify that. Last time, when we had the Mandamano before the break and some other things, like bipartisan talks coming up, Raila did one thing. He had Mandamano, first of all. Then later on, we heard that there were meetings which they denied they didn't meet between President William Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga. Later on, there were press conferences from William Ruto and also the former Prime Minister. The former Prime Minister accepted the call by the President so that they can stop and give bipartisan talks a chance, which happened, but until they cancelled it yesterday. Until they stop, of course, the issue was they have to stop fighting in Jubilee, the fight in Jubilee party that is led by President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Now, I want to say this. During the first press conference by Raila Amolo Odinga, he did not quote anything to do with the cost of living. Instead, he talked of servers, which he believed was the most important thing to be handled by the government. When the Kenyans, after the speech, Kenyans went back to Twitter, social media, they talked about this aspect where Raila Amolo Odinga did not address the issue to do with the cost of living. But then in the subsequent meetings, he has been trying to incorporate that in his meetings, in his speeches, which is not sincere according to my understanding. Therefore, that incident itself shows that Raila Amolo Odinga didn't have the interest of the Kenyans at heart, especially on the cost of living, because that is what they needed the most. Instead, he wanted the servers to be open, just that, so they could get to power. But the immediate problems Kenyans are facing right now is the high cost of living from the current regime. I also want to talk about the issue of gas that President William Ruto talked about before and is now talking about it again. Now, before the Mandamano, President William Ruto talked about bringing a very cheap gas called Taifa Gas in Kenya from an investor, I think it is a Tanzanian. Very cheap one. But during the interview with the media, the main media stations in Kenya, he said that he was not talking about the gas itself. He was talking about the mtungi wa gas. Okay? That container itself. Fine. That could be the case. Okay? That could be the case. But the major problem that we have in Kenya, as everyone understands, is the refilling. Those who have gas, the cost of refilling goes high day by day. It's not actually buying the actual mtungi itself. But let me don't talk about that today, but I want to address the issue of Raila Amolo Odinga's role in the current situation in this country. Ever since the bipartisan talks ended, Ruto changed tune on the issue of gas. He's now started talking about the mtungi and not the gas. Who is in the gas industry in Kenya? That's Raila Amolo Odinga. He's the main guy that we have who supplies gas, which means right now, whatever happening, the deal is already on. Why do I say that there's a deal between President Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga? Because Ruto is not addressing issue to do with gas anymore. The Mandamano are not there anymore. The only thing that you have right now that is happening in the current situation is that Raila is trying to manage his funds, his supporters across the country. The witch hunt of Raila allies is a thing you can't explain, yes, but I believe it can be genuine because of the fight of 2032 and 2027. But when it comes to the pact between President William Ruto, there is an agreement that has been signed. And if they will touch on gas next time, it will prove us wrong that Raila Amolo Odinga do not have an agreement with who? President William Ruto. Therefore, I believe that Raila must be genuine for the Kenyans. Ruto must also be genuine to the people of Kenya. That's my take, and that's my video there and there. Make sure that you subscribe, kindly like, and kindly comment so that you can get your opinions about this kind of a topic. See you next time, same place, same time.